So, welcome to today's video. We are taking finally a look at the Horadam Naturals. The funny thing is I recorded the swatching months ago after I bought the tubes when they were first released. So it is a very long time in between recording the swatching and doing the voiceover. I had done the voiceover before, but that was when I had my microphone was broken, so the sound quality was really bad, and that was the reason I didn't want to upload the video like that. So yeah, the first color is called Still the Grain. Still the Grain is an historical pigment. It's a plant-based pigment. We have two groups with the Horadam Natural. We have plant-based colors and mineral-based colors. And it was in the medieval ages used in what is that called in English? Oh, I'm really sorry. I have to Google that. As a glaze. Sometimes I'm missing the words. I do know them, but yeah. For a special art form which is called panel painting. And the interesting thing is it was very rarely made with oil. It was mostly made with glue. So that is something very different. It was used as a pastel until the 19th century, so for a very, very long time. It is sadly not light fast, not at all. That is the problem from the plant-based group, because they are all not light fast. I know from when I did the watercolor news video that some people told me, yeah, but the company says it is very good in light fastness, but the history and enough people who have tested the pigments show us that the pigment themselves are not light fast, that they will definitely fade very much to completely over time. So keep that in mind when you're working with the plant-based colors. And yeah, don't look at the light fastness rating here and say, okay, the company says it is 4 or 5 stars, so it has to be light fast for a very long time. Yeah, that's with the natural pigments, which this is a natural pigment. It is a NY13. So this is rated from the company with 2 stars. So 2 or 5 stars, which is still probably better rated than I would have rated it. I would probably only would have given it a 1 star. It is a very beautiful yellow, and it reminds us a little bit of quinacridone gold or nickel azo yellow, just in a muted down version, not as glowy as the others, but it is a translucent yellow. And I think for especially back then it was a very special pigment, just because with yellows you mostly had earth pigments like ochres, and a very glowing yellows like that were very rare. So I think that is why it was used so much or for a very long time. It is made from berries of the buckthorn family. The berries are sometimes called Avignon berries or Persian berries. And it was sold in dried sheep bladders in a liquid form, which is very unusual, because normally back then, if an artist wanted a color, he has gone to a pigment seller, mostly a pharmacy, for example, bought the pigment in a dried form and then mixed it with the binding agent, mostly oils back then. And this was already in a liquid form in a dried sheep leather. So that is very, very unusual for the past. The berries itself can make this yellow, but also more reddish color, depending on which, probably which buckthorn version, or how it is processed, or how ripe the berries are. So yeah, that was all the information I found so far. The next one here, or the next three I'm swatching, are from the mineral part of the Horadam Naturals, from the mineral group. The first one is called Yellow Ochre. There is something I'm not really know if it is a printing error or if it is a genuine NY43, because I have found no information at all that the pigment NY43 exists at all. We all know that ochres are either a PY42 for the synthetic version, or for the natural version a PY43. So I'm really unsure why it is called NY43 here, and I'm also very unsure why it is only a 3 stars, because normally iron oxide pigments are very, very light fast. So yeah, that are questions I do have, which I can't answer because I couldn't find any information on their homepage about it. Probably will have I will contact them in the future, because I have a few questions, not only to this color but to others as well, which would be interesting to ask them. Why I did buy it, because of course I do have tons of ochres, but this is an orange ochre, and orange ochres are not very, there aren't a lot of orange ochres. So that was the point where I said, okay, that is interesting, and that is why I've bought the color. So this color here is called Green Slate. It is a slate gray made with PBK 19, which is slate gray. It is also only rated with 3 stars, which is also confusing, because normally PBK 19 is excellent in light fastness. So that is also something I'm a little bit confused about, why they rated it as mediocre when the pigment normally gets a 5 star or a light fastness of 1, depending on which scale you're using. So yeah, not quite sure. When I'm not totally confused, the PBK 19 normally granulates not very strongly, but I think it does, but I'm not 100% sure at the moment. The problem is the paper here is not the best to show granulation, and the version of the PBK 19 here has a light greenish undertone, not very strongly, and it is a very light version of the color. There are darker versions of the pigment, depending on, of course, which brand you're using, but it is more on the rare side. The PBK 19 is not a pigment you do found in many brands. I do know that Rembrandt does offer a slate gray with a PBK 19. I think it's a single pigment version, but apart from that, I don't have any company in mind at the moment, which I know for sure does offer the pigment. So if maybe 1 or 2 more companies, but like I said, it is a very rare pigment, so that's why I've bought it back then. Yeah, and the last color is called Lalverit Violet, and it is rated with 4 stars in light fastness, so it is a good. And I don't have any information here about a pigment from the company. There is just no information, not on the tube and not on the website. I also, when I googled Lalverit, I couldn't find any information. All I found is things sounding or written similar to the word leverett, like leverstone, or something completely different with which has nothing to do with stones in general, just sounds similar. So I'm honestly not sure what it is, but a few minutes ago, when I did the voiceover for the German version, I remembered that I have a handmade watercolor which has the same shade of color, and it is called Côte d'Azur Violet. And the Côte d'Azur Violet is also a slate pigment, which is normally farmed, of course, in southern France. That's why it is named Côte d'Azur Violet. But it is also known as slate violet, I think. What was it? Yeah, slate violet. And also you can get it from, not from southern France, but from Mels. I think that is in Switzerland or in Austria. I'm not quite sure at the moment. So depending, yeah, Switzerland. It's Mels is in Switzerland. So it probably, because like I said, the color looks completely the same. It is also granulating very mildly. Probably, like I said, on a different paper it would show better. But like I said, the color is completely the same, and I have never seen this kind of shade anywhere else. So I guess it is probably this pigment. So it would be a slate violet. It is a very earthy color, and I think the color shade is very interesting and could be used for a lot of things. And it is a very rare color shade. Like I said, the only time I've seen a color like that was from someone who makes handmade paints, not brands, handmade paints. So yeah, it is, I think, the only big brand offering a color like that. The thing with the Horadam Natural, first, of course, there are vegan watercolors, and the thing why they probably made this are that the Schminke Horadam aren't vegan because they're using ox gall in their colors. The Schminke Academy, which is their student grade paints, they are vegan, but I'm not quite sure. I think they have an ivory black that of course isn't vegan. Sorry. And I don't know why, because there are a lot of vegan watercolors out there which are not that kind of it feels a little bit gooey, slimy, and it when you are painting with it, it feels streaky, and you see it in the dried swatches. The Stilde grain looks good, but the yellow ochre and the slate gray, you can, and the lalverit, you can see this, the streakiness. And I would have put a lot of more water, of course, on it and could lessen this feeling and this streakiness, but of course then the colors get very, very light and they aren't very dark to begin with. So that is something I really don't like with the Horadam Naturals, and that is also the reason why I'm still I'm not quite sure if I do like them or not. I mean, the colors itself, the color shades, the pigments they've used are really beautiful, but the feeling of the paints I don't like so much. And like I said, there are a lot of vegan brands out there offering watercolors without honey, without ox gall, and they don't have this kind of feeling. So I'm not quite sure why this is a problem here. And if some of you also have Horadam Natural watercolors and have used them a few times already, or at least once, then I would absolutely love to hear if you had the same problems with the color, with this kind of slimy texture feeling and the streakiness with the colors like I had. So I'm not completely convinced with this color line, just because of the texture and the feeling of the paints. Like I said, the colors itself look very beautiful from the pigments, the color shades and that, but the feeling and the streakiness you have left then when the color is dried, that I don't like at all. So yeah, that is my personal opinion. And like I said, I'm super interested in your experience with the colors, or your personal opinions to the colors. Are there colors that you are interested in, or is the complete line just not to your personal taste or not of interest? So yeah, let me hear your opinion. And thank you very much for watching. And yeah, like always, a thumbs up or a follow is very much appreciated, because it really helps me in the channel very, very much. So thank you so much for that. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and to see you soon in one of my other videos. Bye bye.